It is nice to be back, joined here by Just Joe and our fellow Patrick Donnelly on the Game Time Sports Network Game Time Decision Podcast. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing very well. It's that time of year where I'm not a college basketball fan, so I can't really say this, but right now it's kind of like the lull of the sports season, right before baseball starting. Football's been over. You got basketball and hockey, but you're still before the playoffs. So kind of in that lull, but the Patriots, for me, and for a lot of New England sports fans, have kind of filled that void with just the offseason moves they've been making. I'm really happy. I hope they can still retain Malcolm Butler, even if it's just for 1 year, because we're the prohibitive favorites to win the Super Bowl again.
I agree with you. If you're a professional sports fan, it is a bit of a valley, but I love the March Madness tournament. I know you're not a big fan. You do it, you participate, but I'm a huge fan. Pat, do you want to say a little bit about yourself before we get into this?
I'm the resident hockey writer here at Game Time Sports Network.
You were on one of the videos we made, I think, right?
Yeah, the Thanksgiving
Yep,
one.
we had a couple videos. It's hard, but yeah, continue. So resident hockey writer. First time on the show.
Yeah, the debut. But pretty much bread and butter for me is pretty much just talking hockey, but I can talk other things if I need to.
Yeah, I'm going to, today is Saturday, March 18th. I'm going to try to get this up tonight. Round of 32 started today for the March Madness tournament. Did you guys want to just chit-chat about the brackets real quick?
Yeah, my bracket's still looking good right now.
Mine's doing actually all right. I'll pull it up.
I'm going to get mine up. Rest in peace to me because Marquette. I don't know anything about college basketball, and I kind of picked Marquette against my better judgment because, I like Marquette players. Jay Crowder, like former players, Dwayne Wade, Jimmy Butler, obviously.
I had them beating, was it St. Mary's? No.
I have U.S. No, I have no idea. I don't know anything. Let me just check right now. Let me get that up. All I can say is Marquette screwed me over. I have Kentucky winning in one of my brackets. I have two. It was South Carolina. That's who Marquette.
Yeah,
played.
I had Marquette winning, upsetting that 7th seed, but I had them losing the next game. So
I had Marquette.
My Sweet 16's all good right now.
I had Marquette beating South Carolina. Then I had them beating Duke, Baylor, and Villanova.
Oh my God.
The games that really bugged me were the Michigan-Oklahoma State game, and more importantly, the Vanderbilt-Northwestern game. Did you see the end of that?
I have not watched a minute of college basketball. Actually, I watched a minute.
Did you watch
during
that
golf.
game, Pat?
I did not watch any of those games. But
So that game, I didn't actually catch the end of the Oklahoma State-Michigan game, but I had Oklahoma State, and they ended up losing by 1 point after blowing a ridiculous lead. I guess Michigan. Did I say Michigan State?
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant Oklahoma State, Michigan. Yeah, you get it. But the Vanderbilt
pulled it off.
Northwestern game was even worse because Vanderbilt had came back at the end, and there was about 15 seconds left, and their point guard thought that they were losing, so he fouled a Northwestern player trying to stop the clock because he thought they were losing, but they were actually winning by 1. Turns out it was their best free throw shooter. The kid drains 2 buckets. They walk off the court and win. So that was really frustrating, but a lot of the guys in the pool I'm in had the same pick as me, so it's all good.
Right.
I had Vanderbilt because Skip Bayless went to Vanderbilt. See, I
picked Northwestern.
That's how I pick things. I go, all right, I had Marquette going far. I have Butler going far because I like Brad Stevens. And even though Brad Stevens is no longer the coach of Butler, the ghost in the legend of Brad Stevens is there, and Gordon Hayward. So that's how I do things with March Madness because I really don't know my stuff like I do with fantasy baseball, which we will be drafting in 38 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little in-house pool of our own, but what champion have you guys crowned for this tournament? In your main bracket, if you have multiple.
I had Kentucky because I only know a few college basketball players because I'm a big NBA fan, and the Celtics have the highest chance of getting the number 1 overall pick, so I've been studying that. So they have De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk on Kentucky, so I know those two guys. Obviously, UCLA has Lonzo Ball, and Markelle Fultz, who will probably go number 1, is not in the tournament at Washington. So, I just went with team that's 2 guys I know.
So I had originally picked Oregon. I thought that was a huge sleeper 3 seed. I thought that was really bold, and I knew that no one else in my pool would pick that. But I kind of cowered it out of that one. I said, it's Oregon. They're only a 3 seed. I ended up switching that to Kentucky, like you had, and The reason I chose that was because I thought Kentucky was a very good balance between boldness and probability. I knew that maybe a half a dozen kids at most in the pool would pick Kentucky. A lot of kids had Arizona. A lot of kids had Gonzaga, UNC. You get it. But I think there's 5 or 6 kids with Kentucky, and that way, if they pull it off, we're looking good.
I would never pick Gonzaga because of Kelly Olynyk and Adam Morrison.
Gonzaga's a fake 1 seed. They lost 1 game all year to a team that's not even in the tournament.
To use a fraud team. They're
Fraud.
they're the Atlanta Falcons of college basketball.
Fake news. Fake 1 seed.
All right. Well, we shall see how that goes. We can, I guess, recap it. Well, it won't be over next week, but we can continue.
We'll touch
following.
base on that.
We can lead that story. I have not followed professional sports in the wake of this March Madness tournament, so I think we should first point towards the Bruins because we got the expert here, and maybe you could give us a bit of a spiel on what the state of the Bruins is right now, since we haven't covered them at all on the show.
Let me just say one thing. I'm not a hockey fan, but I did say to this Claude Julien sycophant that firing him was the best decision the Bruins could make, and Bruce Cassidy is a tremendous coach.
Okay. All right, Pat, let's hear it.
They're 12-4 under Cassidy. They're surging lately. Aside from the loss over in Edmonton the other night, people are kind of blaming that on Rask. He gave up some softies, but that's what happens when the defense plays what it looks like on paper. Pretty much, they're scoring goals right now. The defense is getting involved.
Yeah, but doesn't Brad Marchand lead the league?
Brad Marchand. Joe doesn't think he's a top 10 player in the league. Joe thinks honestly people would trade Jonathan Toews for Brad Marchand.
I'm saying if you told me I could have a guy, I'm not saying cap number because I don't know about the hockey cap and salaries.
$10 million versus 5.75.
Okay, I'm not talking that. I'm just saying strictly the player. I don't know hockey. All I know is Jonathan Toews is a better hockey player than Brad Marchand, and he's been proving that for a long time.
Those two statements don't work because you can't say I don't know hockey, and then say something that you'd have to know hockey.
And it's like in the measure of the value towards their team.
You don't have to know basketball to say LeBron James is better than Isaiah Thomas.
But we're not talking about Alex Ovechkin and
Patrick Kane.
Yeah,
which would still never happen.
It's not like these guys are known superstars.
Jonathan Toews is a known superstar.
He's not a superstar.
He's
a very, very
top
good.
10,
he's an all-star.
He's better than Patrice Bergeron. He's a better version
not
of.
Better than
Jonathan Toews is a better version of Patrice.
He may produce more offensively,
especially in our area because Toews, I believe, is West Coast, right?
Yeah.
So when you
see them twice a year.
About the NHL, especially around people who don't follow hockey too much. When you think of the face of the league, you think of the superstars.
Ovechkin's, Crosby. Right. Now we're saying McDavid, Eichel, Matthews.
In the same way that when you talk about the NBA in that style, you think of Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, KD.
And then if you're in the Northeast, you're thinking about Isaiah too. But aside from the Northeast,
no one's really considering Isaiah. You know what I mean?
Well,
just like
Jonathan Toews is a top 5 NHL player.
I'd say top 10. Very good top 10 player, but he produces. Like, going back to saying he's better than Bergeron, he produces more offensively on a regular basis than Bergeron. Like, he'll put up more points, but Bergeron scores more goals, and I think his value to the Bruins is a lot higher.
There's a lot of things you have to consider in hockey. The team system has a huge effect on the player's ability. Just take a look at Sagan, how he just rose to greatness in Dallas.
He could do whatever he wanted out
Exactly.
there.
Well, I would say that Jonathan Toews has more to do with the Blackhawks' recent success than Patrick Kane.
Patrick Kane scored at least 4 or 5 very clutch overtime goals. He's the reason they won in 2010. He scored that goal in overtime against the Flyers, Game 6.
All I'm saying is Jonathan Toews is that team, and that's
Patrick Kane and Artemi Panarin are that team. Corey Crawford is a good regular season goalie. He's a mediocre playoff goalie. Teams figure him out like the Bruins did in the finals 3 or 4 years ago when they scored every goal high glove side when he went down in the butterfly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you said they're 12-4, and you said that their defense is playing the way their defense looks like on paper. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Well, that was mainly just the other night in
Edmonton.
In Edmonton, yes. Some shaky play from both goalies. Rask and Hudobin bought into that game a little bit. Rask got yanked after the 4th, I think.
Are you with me on that? The Bruins should have dumped Chara 4 years ago, and just. I think every year that they should get rid of him, and yet they just seem to hold on.
I agree with Chris.
I think it's at the point where you can't trade him anymore. Like,
I agree.
1 year left on his contract.
Worthless.
He's done after next year, and his cap hit goes from 6 or 7 to down to 4.7. So he's making about a little over half of what he's making now. So he turns into like next year he'll turn into a solid top 4 guy if you like. But right now he's still our best defenseman, so he's going to be a top 2 guy. When he say on Chicago, like we were just saying, he'd be top 4 since they have Keith and Seabrook and Hjalmarsson.
Yeah, defense has really kind of taken a turn in the NHL, I'd say, over the past decade or so, where there's a lot more offense coming from your guys on the point now. You know, you got guys like Weber, Seabrook, Carlson. You got these guys showing up who can light up the goalie from on the point, and then that tough, gritty, large defenseman that you used to see so much is just kind of fading away.
I mean, the perfect blend of that is Brent Burns over in San Jose. He's going to score 30 goals this year. I think he has 27 right now, maybe. He's 70 points. He's like 6th in the league in points, and he's going to win the Norris for best defenseman. He got gypped last year by I think it was Drew Doughty, maybe. But
he's another example, yeah. So, who would you say is the front runner in the Stanley Cup contention right now?
That's tough. I picked right after the trade deadline. I picked Minnesota and Washington, and Minnesota winning it all because those teams both went all in at the deadline, and I just like Minnesota better over Washington.
Does Minnesota have Parise?
Yeah.
Still have him? Still held on to him?
Yep.
Yeah, he's a solid player. All right.
I know hockey.
Joe's been the quietest he's ever been.
He's been checking out his fantasy baseball queue.
So yeah, he's really hyped up for fantasy baseball. He wants to go perfect season once again. Time will tell. Joe, what's going on for the
football?
Oh, you want to do?
I want to talk about the
Wow.
Patriots.
We just changed gears like that.
Because
and right again.
We're just gonna cut. Okay, all right. I thought we were kind of segue into baseball, but if you want to just cut into football, that's yeah.
What do you guys think of the branding?
We'll shift then.
What do you think of the Brandon Cooks trade?
Shift over.
I like it. I'm very much in favor of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan. I hadn't watched Brandon Cooks play, but from the things I've heard, he's
watching his highlight videos on YouTube.
Very skilled secondary, right? Yeah.
Wide receiver.
He's a deep threat, big deep threat.
Yeah.
So,
be like new Randy Moss, younger Randy Moss.
What was this trade?
Totally different than Randy.
I know.
When I heard
for Patriots fans who don't know,
when I heard about this trade, I heard the biggest thing was that we could keep Butler.
Ooh,
well,
that's a tough subject.
The thing is,
what can you fill me in on that?
So
overrated.
So there was a report. So the Patriots on the first day of free agency did the most un-Patriots thing. This harkens back.
Did they trade for Cooks?
Yes, but
he was a wide receiver from
I was thinking
the Saints.
The Saints.
Yeah, but I'm talking Stephon Gilmore. So the Patriots
shutdown corner.
He's not a shutdown corner. He was the 61st rated corner on Pro Football Focus.
That's Pro Football Focus.
That's where you go. Okay.
Either
way,
okay.
He's not as good a cornerback as Malcolm Butler. I'd say he's a top 10 to 15 corner. Not worth the money he's getting paid, but whatever. I'm still happy. We had a lot of cap room. We decided to make the move.
Well, what's probably going to happen is he's going to play the first 2 or 3 years with that full cap hit. Then we're going to say take a pay cut or you're gone.
You go by the guaranteed money, which was still like 30 to 40 million, which is more than Belichick's ever given up. This kind of reminds me of the deal with Adalius Thomas, except the Patriots are acting like they lost the Super Bowl by 25 points, like they lost 28-3 and never came back. Because this harkens back to 2007, where we lost the AFC Championship game to the Colts. We go out because we let Deion Branch go. Our number one wide receiver was Rashae Caldwell, and we didn't have enough firepower to beat the Colts when we were up. I think it was 21-3. We choke. We could have had another Super Bowl against Rex Grossman and the Bears, but we go out. We trade for Randy Moss, which was actually in terms of giving up assets, we only gave up a 4th-round pick, which is nothing compared to a 2nd-round pick that we gave up for Wes Welker and a huge deal we gave to Adalius Thomas.
Wow.
So now the Patriots' first day of free agency sign Stephon Gilmore, overpay him, but it's in reality probably a 2 or 3 year deal, and the cap number's relatively low, so whatever. And then we go out, and there's a report saying that Malcolm Butler, he's a restricted free agent. So what that means is that the Patriots offer him a $3.9 million tender, which he can either take for 1 year and then he becomes an unrestricted free agent, or he can decline it. But the caveat is that whichever team signs him has to give the Patriots a 1st-round pick.
Because we signed him to the max tender.
That's the whole restricted part of it.
Yes.
We kind of have like the
we own his rights.
First bidding. Yeah.
So Malcolm Butler probably would have came back for about $10 million a year, I would say. $9 to $10 million a year.
I say 7 would be fair enough to get
no,
it done.
Not 7.
I think
so
that's fair.
Too low.
7's fair.
7 is way too low.
You think
fair.
the money? You think
he's a top 10 corner.
Fair. Overrated. I'll give him top 10, but he's incredibly overrated.
Maybe top 5. No, he's not. No. He's not.
He gets burned by any receiver over the height of 6 feet.
That is not true.
Julio Jones was his father in the Super Bowl.
No, wait, Julio Jones only had 4 catches.
Julio Jones was arguably the best
And,
receiver
and
last
Julio,
year.
he is the best wide receiver,
Yeah.
and he eats every cornerback's lunch.
That's true.
So here's the thing.
You can't combine. You can't
Yeah, but
compare Malcolm Butler to Julio Jones.
I think, obviously we should bring Butler back, but I don't give him top 5. I give him top 10.
Okay.
Top 10 money is still.
But
Well, no, not in terms of money, in terms of rating for where he is in the league.
But here's, I would say, if he was an unrestricted free agent, not a restricted free agent, he would get Stephon Gilmore money.
Yes.
So that would be 13, 14. I would say 10 million because he's a restricted free agent would be good. But, and he probably would have signed that, 9 to 10 million. But since he saw Gilmore get that money, he was slighted, saying, you say you want to wait to pay me, you're not going to give me max money, but you're going to give a guy who, in every statistical category, I'm better than, you're going to give him way more than you'll offer me. So he was kind of ticked off. And his agent's a bozo. His agent's
never negotiated anything above an entry-level deal.
His
No idea
agent's
what
a
he's
personal injury lawyer
Yeah.
who Butler's just very loyal to him.
No clue what he's doing.
He has no clue what he's doing. And I think the Patriots wanted to teach him a lesson, but the agent's kind of holding his ground. And he's been making statements saying, well, if another team offered us $10 million a year, we would have taken it.
Oh, so we don't know if Butler's coming back.
We don't. But the thing with Cooks is, they originally reported that the Patriots
It'd be Butler and Cook straight up.
we would trade
Wait.
Butler for Cooks.
Wait a minute. Do we have Gilmore?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so that's who I was confused with when I said
Yeah.
he's a solid cornerback.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm starting to picture. Now I'm starting to put 2 and 2 together. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I can see why Butler would get mad at that, but at the same time, you kind of seem like a d-bag when you're like, well, he's making $2 more million than me. Oh no, you're making $10 million a year. Well,
we don't even know if the Patriots offer that though. The Patriots probably offered him 7 or 8, which he.
Oh wow, only $7 million.
I know, but still, he could still get 13, 14.
I mean, for him, it doesn't matter. He got his rings, so.
But see, if Butler was smart,
he has 2 rings. He doesn't care.
If Butler
Yeah,
was
that's
smart,
what I don't understand.
He would say, "All right, I'm going to sign the $3.9 million tender, play this year out as long as I stay healthy and play well."
Well, it's pretty obvious that Butler cares about the Patriots because I feel like he would have packed his bags and left.
Well, he couldn't.
Wasn't he in New Orleans this week, meeting with the Saints?
Yeah,
No,
but
I understand that the Patriots had their restricted boundary on him, but he would have just been like, "Nope, okay, bye, good, nice knowing you."
But,
I mean, he held
a
out at
team
camp
still has to
last-
get. He never held out.
He held out at OTAs because he wasn't.
He
getting money.
voluntary though. And every mandatory event he was at.
All right.
But with Butler, it's not that simple because the other team has to agree to give up their first round pick. But the thing what they're saying is since the Patriots traded their first round pick for Cooks, they'll be getting that pick back instead of the Saints pick, which is the 11th pick, which is infinitely more valuable.
Yep.
So and they're saying Belichick is very close to Sean Payton, the coach / personnel decision maker of the Saints. So Belichick wouldn't pull the rug out from under him. But Butler, honestly, it would be smart. Listen, you've paid your dues. You made $500,000, then $600,000 as a Pro Bowl level corner. Stick out one more year. As long as you're healthy and play relatively well, you're going to be getting $13, $14 million a year. Play this 1 year out at 3.9, and then you'll get your deal.
See, this is this is about the NFL. This thing about the NFL that bugs me is how the rookies are basically choked on their first deal, right? When they're drafted,
It depends when you're. Well, Malcolm Butler wasn't even drafted. He was an undrafted rookie free agent.
So
that's why he made so little. Where Hightower, the Patriots didn't have as much leverage on him because A, he was a first round pick, so he was still making $7-8 million a year, and B, he would be an unrestricted free agent where Butler wouldn't be.
Right. So Butler got, in comparison to other cornerbacks of his greatness, pennies for the first couple of years he played in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's one thing to consider, but overall, I don't think he really, the more I think about it, I don't think he should take it as a slight. He should understand that a team can only pay their players so much, and that while they can, they're going to try to avoid giving him money that they shouldn't need to be able to balance out who they sign.
Well, the Patriots do have cap money, so that's not really the problem. I think it's more just like saying, know your place. You weren't drafted. If we didn't pick you up, you would be nothing because although you turned yourself into a great player, no one was going to give you a chance.
Yeah, sure. No, I know what you mean, but sure. Malcolm Butler deserves to be paid more than what's the guy's name, the cornerback?
Stephon Gilmore. He does.
But
he has to wait his turn.
He won't. This year he won't.
They're
Next
not
year he won't.
paying him less money because he's worse. They're paying him less money because they can.
That's
Exactly.
his value.
So he needs to understand that, and he needs to let it go. It's $7
Just-
million. We're talking difference between like massive amounts of money. I think for the guys should just settle down and be like, all right, yeah, I'll take it. And like you said, just wait a few years and then get it.
1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're still gonna make $4 million. You wait 1 year, and all you have to do is do what you've been doing for the past year,
Right.
12 months, and you will be rolling in a $70 million contract. So that's what I personally think Butler should do. But I think the Patriots, they still have a few routes. The Saints are kind of strapped in terms of the cap, so they're gonna have to be creative. So what happens is maybe they sign him to an offer sheet, and the Patriots say, "Wow, this is actually way cheaper than I thought." They'll because they still have the right to match any contract Butler gets.
Imagine if the offer sheet they signed would be like $7 million.
Yeah.
That'd just be absurd because he's making all this noise and
But the only thing we say is
reports that the
That would just-
Patriots
that
offered
would
him
make him
$7.
look like the worst person ever.
the Patriots wouldn't want to screw over Sean Payton, but I think Belichick realized he only has 3-4 more years left. I think that's all he wants. So what? You screw over Payton. What? You already got cooks from him. What else are you going to need from him? So what? You don't deal with them.
So my thing is, if you don't bring back Butler or any other corner piece or cornerback, like piece to be a corner, like who's your second corner? Because you have Gilmore. Then
Eric Rowe.
do you rely on Eric Rowe or do you make McCourty or Deron Harmon your second corner?
McCourty been there, done that as a corner. He actually was a Pro Bowl corner
Pro
his
Bowler's
rookie year.
Yeah, he
7 interceptions.
said they were going to play him at corner in the Super Bowl, never did. But
Yeah. No, he's a safety. He's paid as a safety. He's meant to be a safety. Why make a guy be an average second corner when he could be one of the best safeties? Harmon's still going to be a safety. Chung, you have a safety.
Chunk's not moving from safety.
No. So you have Rowe. You have Justin Coleman. We still have a 3rd-round draft pick, 4th-round draft pick. Belichick can go in there. And if Butler is gone, we will be getting back a 1st-round pick.
Yeah.
And so Belichick could find a corner. They say this draft is loaded with corners. So I wouldn't be worried about that. Logan Ryan's gone. He's got $10 million a year, but I
See,
saw that coming.
When we made the Cooks trade, what I thought would happen, originally I thought it'd be Butler for Cooks when we bring back Logan Ryan to play with Gilmore. I'd be fine with that.
I did not see us giving Logan Ryan $10 million a year.
I didn't think he'd get $10 million.
Oh,
a year.
I knew it. I called it. I thought he was going to get 12.
I said 7.
I thought 12.
Like my magic number today is 7, but
Looking at the market,
7's fair ballpark.
I had Logan Ryan pegged at 12.
Really.
Yeah, the way teams spend.
He had a good second half. He was awful in the first half of the year.
That's what Gilmore was. If I couldn't have pegged Gilmore at 13, 14 a year. Another move the Patriots did, most underrated move, Coney Ealy.
Yeah.
We traded for Coney Ealy, who had 3 sacks and an interception in the Super Bowl last year against the Broncos. 5 sacks each year the past 2 years, but a lot of potential, kind of inconsistent, but in a rookie year, contract year, I think it could be huge. And basically, we traded our 2nd-round pick for Coney Ealy and a 3rd-round pick, but the difference between a 2nd and a 3rd for us and the Panthers is only 8 spots. So we had the 64th pick because we had the last pick of the 2nd, and the Panthers had the 8th pick in the 3rd round. So we basically slid back 8 spots and got potentially someone who has Pro Bowl potential and for cheap money in the final year of his deal. I thought that was the best value move that Belichick did.
Going back to cornerback, you could also put Cyrus Jones out there. He's not getting a fair shake. He just screwed up the few punt returns this year, but other than that, he never played a single snap at corner. We don't know what he can do at corner. He played at Bama, right?
Mm-hmm.
Must have done something right to play at Bama.
It was a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah,
and you're not drafting.
exactly.
You're not drafting a guy just to return
You're not drafting
kicks.
a special teams guy in the 2nd round.
Exactly.
So
You never know.
there must be something there we haven't seen.
If I'm
with
being
him
honest,
at corner.
I think Butler does come back just for 1 year and then he'll leave and we'll get a comp pick or something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Hightower. What's the state with him?
Happy to have him back.
So he signed a deal.
Yes,
yeah,
he did.
he's back.
What
4
was-
years, $43 million. The Jets baked him cupcakes. The Jets.
Cupcakes didn't work.
11 a year.
I mean,
wow.
cupcakes was pretty much the only thing they could offer him,
Yeah, exactly.
aside from money.
And the Jets offered him 5 years, $60 million, which was
That's 12 a year.
yeah. The
And
pay-
but see, maybe I'm thinking a guy like Hightower is like, he cares more about a shorter contract than he does about.
oh no, you want the
money.
longer deal because he's already 27, 20. Yeah, so he's not going to get another deal after
Yeah, but
this.
who wants to be chained down to the Jets for half?
And
a
that's
decade?
why.
Speaking of the
But
Jets,
the Jets pulled their offer.
Speak-
Because there was a physical, and they saw like a red flag because Hightower's been plagued with injuries, like minor nagging injuries, and the Jets pulled their offer after seeing it.
Oh,
So that's that. What were you saying?
Speaking of the Jets, did you see Geno Smith is going to the
Giants.
Giants?
Yeah.
That quarterback situation over there, my God, it's awful.
Speaking of quarterbacks, we talked about
Kirk Cousins?
the possibility of trading Jimmy G. Do you think the Pats are still? The last thing I heard was they were not open to it, but now do you think they would be considering it?
Here's what I'm thinking.
Because we already talked about what we would expect.
The way I'm looking at it, I think the Patriots should trade Jimmy Garoppolo for the right deal. And the more I think about it, I would say, you know what? Cleveland, Hugh Jackson, so your second head coaching job. You go 2-14 again, you're out. So really, what's that?
You got to lose.
What's the kid who's going to be going for the first overall pick, the defensive end?
Oh,
Miles Garrett, something like that?
Miles Garrett.
Okay, great.
Von Miller 2.0.
Okay, great. You can get a defensive end who you're going to have for 5 years, and then he's going to bolt because he's not going to want to stay in Cleveland. What good is a defensive end going to do for you when you have no one at quarterback? When you have a new
Brock
quarterback
Osweiler every week.
They
That
cut out
was
three.
that was the strangest.
It was a good
deal.
move. It was a good move for both sides.
Oh yeah, I know, but that was just.
It was
I've never
strange.
seen anything like it.
It's
Before.
it's an unprecedented deal in the NFL, but it was kind
Bring
of fair for
Osweiler
both
back
sides.
down to earth, off his high horse.
So I would say, so what good? Because you have so many first-round picks, and you've blown so many first-round picks on Johnny Manziel, and
Johnny Football.
and just go down the list of Trent Richardson. You spent the third pick on Trent Richardson. Great. You have all these picks. This kid proved he can be in a short sample size, at least a representative NFL quarterback. Someone that's not gonna.
There's still people out
He's
there.
not going to lose you games.
There are still people out there who think he hasn't been tested enough.
I mean, I agree with that,
I
but
understand that.
he's more tested than any other prospect, and you need a quarterback in that league.
He's got the brightest future, I think, of the prospects we've seen. And yeah, they could get. The Patriots could benefit from it. The Browns could benefit from it. That would be great.
I would say, you know what, Cleveland, I want 2 first-rounders.
2.
I want 2.
That's
that
a
was
leg
the
up.
report.
That's a leg up that will not. Last thing I heard from you was what, a first and a third.
Yeah, now I'm saying
What has Jimmy G done in the past month to change that?
Well, I think
just
if,
the value of that quarterback position.
if you're Cleveland and you really think he's the guy, then why not?
I would say I want 2 first and a third, 2 first and a second.
The Browns,
Like at some point, you got to take a chance.
I want
but
the
they
number
need,
1 overall
they've
pick
taken
this year.
chances before. They need to value their picks. I understand.
They have
they'll
1,000,001
to-
picks.
They don't, and I understand.
They have more picks than anyone ever in the next 2 drafts.
They should not give 2 first rounders.
Yes,
That's
they should.
preposterous.
No, it's not
That's
at all.
preposterous.
No, it's not at all. Not even in the slightest. For what? Who else? Who else are you gonna get? Who else are you gonna get?
I don't know every college football player in
yeah,
the country.
There's no really
Neither
good
do I. There's
quarterback
no
in
Andrew
this
Luck.
draft.
If there was an Andrew Luck waiting for you, even next year, you can tank and you see you have a kid who, like an Andrew Luck, who you say, all right, we are sure this kid will be at least a very solid quarterback.
Yeah, but I understand
That guy's not
I
there.
know the quarterback position is extremely important, but 2 first-round picks, you could get that defensive end this year, and you could get some other position next year. That I honestly,
and that means nothing. And you're still gonna lose.
Like
They
I
could
said,
go way
you
off the
could build
board
up 2 first-round picks is.
Look at the Houston Texans.
ridiculous.
Look at the Houston Texans. They have a great defense. They have the number 1 overall pick. They got Jadeveon Clowney. They have J.J. Watt. They have their DeAndre Hopkins. They're stacked everywhere.
I'm not saying
except
that,
a quarterback.
I'm not
and they can
saying
make
running
the
back.
quarterback position is not.
They had
valuable.
Arian Foster
I'm
for a
not.
while too, and he was
He's
excellent.
hurt and he's gone
I
now.
can see your point, but can you see mine?
I can, but you know what? If you're the Browns, you do
2
it.
first-round picks.
Then
Well, I mean, they could go way off the board with the first overall and get Deshaun Watson, but he's the only really good, I guess, quarterback in the draft because
they're gonna get
he's
Mitch.
not going to be elite. He'll be a good starter.
He'll be Geno Smith, and especially in Cleveland, the way they are.
Bone the Browns and go to who's their rival?
No one.
Yeah,
Bengals.
exactly. Yeah,
The Bengals?
exactly. He'll just go down the street
The
to wherever.
cross-state rivals. Are they going to get Deshaun Watson? Are they going to draft Mitch Trubisky?
If the Patriots made a trade like that with the Browns, it would be like analogous to like robbing a little kid because they know
No, it
the
wouldn't.
Candy
kid.
from a baby.
They know the kid needs the quarterback, so they force him to give away the money, the picks.
Well, that's what you do.
Yeah, if you really
When
think
you have leverage,
I think a fair trade for Jimmy G and the Browns would be like a third round pick, and maybe you could spice that up a bit if the Pats traded some other lower picks because they're not gonna have like really valuable picks for a few years.
I don't think Cleveland makes the trade if they don't get word from Garoppolo's camp that he'll sign an extension.
That's the only thing.
Because he can just play there. He can play
Well,
there
you
for
can
the
still
year and see how
franchise him.
bad
Right.
the offensive.
Well, you can still franchise them. And the Browns, they still have a lot of money because no one wants to go there, so they're still going to have a ton of cap money. You franchise him every year, whether you're paying him $25, $20 million a year. You have that quarterback. You franchise him every year.
I visited Cleveland 2 weeks ago. That was why we didn't have a show that week to visit a school in Ohio. But I was at some like deli getting lunch, and I saw some guy with like a Cleveland Browns jacket on. So I asked the guy. I said, "What do you think of Josh Gordon in his future with the Browns?" And
Flash.
the guy just looked at me in the eye and he said, "Dump that garbage," and walked away. And I was laughing. So that's what they feel like out there. They're all pissed off at the league and everything like that, and their own team. So, we've been chit chatting for quite a while today. I was glad that we could come out and break the streak of not having a show, and I'd like to say thanks for coming on, Pat.
Yep, anytime.
I think you've got quite a future on the radio, on the podcast. So that'll do us good. That'll do us fine for today, Joe. Any final comments?
Just go Pats, Celtics, gritty win. No Isaiah. The Nets are kind of scaring me
Way too close.
because
for
the
comfort.
Nets look like they could be a representative team next year. Maybe not good, but they still have 2 late first rounders. They're starting to play better of late. I'm not saying they're going to be good, but they could have the 5th or 6th worst record, and the 5th or 6th pick in the draft is not very valuable, as you saw last year. The 3rd pick couldn't get us like Chris Middleton. I mean, we were looking at guys like Jimmy Butler and Paul George. That 3rd pick didn't get us anything. So the 5th or 6th pick kind of sets us back. So we need the lottery to do well.
I want to see the Sixers next year with a healthy Ben Simmons, and maybe Joel Embiid will be healthy for the full year instead of 33 games.
All right. Well, we're running out of time here, so I'm going to wrap things up. We will take another look at the Celtics, and we'll cover a bit of the MLB next week. We'll leave the audience waiting for us. Thanks for tuning in this week, folks. We'll see you next time.